everybody doing tonight? Thanks. Hi everyone, my name is Joy Yamaguchi. I'm the Director of Public Programs here at the Japanese American National Museum. And on behalf of the museum, I want to say thank you so much for being here tonight. This is such a special and exciting event for us, and it's really great to see so many people here in the audience. I just want to start with a few logistical notes, and then we'll get right into the program today. I want you to note the emergency exits around the auditorium. The one that you entered may not be the closest to you. In case of emergency, please exit through the closest door and do not use the elevator. We also have the restrooms up on the second floor. Those are accessible by stairs or the elevator in the lobby. And we ask that you do not eat or drink inside this auditorium. And at this time, we also silence your cell phones or any devices so we don't interrupt the program. I want to also thank all of our JANA members who are here today. Thank you so much for your support. And I want to give a huge thank you and welcome to California Humanities for their partnership on this program. This was really such a wonderful partnership and such a wonderful time to work together. And we're just really thrilled. As you know, we're here today for Jazz in Little Tokyo with the Jon Hatamiya Sextet. The Hatamiya family has a long history and connection to JANM with Jon's parents and with Lon, who's here in the audience today, being longtime connected and part of the JANM family here on the JANM board and part of our history as a museum. So we're really grateful that we are able to host in our Tachiuchi Democracy Forum here at the Japanese American National Museum. We hope that you come back another time and visit the museum again. We have our galleries open Tuesdays through Sundays, and they really explore the history of Japanese America and culture over the years. So once again, I want to thank California Humanities for their partnership. I want to give a special thank you to Rick Noguchi, the president most of you may know this, but Rick used to be on the staff here at the Japanese American National Museum as our chief operating officer, and the work that he did at JANM really guided and shaped our programs here for many years, and he really had such a strong and wonderful vision for what the museum could do. And he is sorely missed here at JANM, but we know that California Humanities is very lucky to have such a wonderful person leading them in this time. So with that, I want to welcome to the stage Rick Noguchi to give a few welcoming remarks.
Wow, thank you, Joy. That's so nice. That's so nice. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. And I first of all want to thank JANM for collaborating with us on this program, for collaborating with California Humanities. And I want to give a special shout out to Ann Burroughs, the president and CEO, for allowing this to happen, and also to Joy Yamaguchi, who's been really instrumental in putting this together. And you know, this is not the only program she does. She probably does at least 2 programs a week. So she implements them and executes them. So it's amazing that she's on this hamster wheel all the time of these programs. So I really appreciate her working with us on this program. So this program is super special for us at California Humanities because Jon Hatamiya of the Jon Hatamiya Sextet is the son of a former chair of the Board of Directors of California Humanities, Nancy Hatamiya. So Nancy passed away in 2012, but her legacy lives on with her sons John and George. And Nancy's legacy also continues at California Humanities through the Nancy Hatamiya Fund for Arts and Humanities. So we really appreciate the Hatamiya family for allowing that to happen. So I know we are anxious to hear the Jon Hatamiya Sextet, but I do want to share a little bit about California Humanities. We were established in 1975 as a nonprofit to support and advance humanities in California. So we are the state affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities. And while we are primarily a grant-making organization in which JANM has received multiple grants over the years, We also have our own programs that we conduct, like our Library Innovation Lab, which enables librarians to better serve targeted communities like the immigrant community. And we also have something like the Emerging Journalist Fellowship, which supports community college students in highlighting local stories. And we've also been supporting documentaries in and about California for the past 40 years. So these are some of the big investments that we've made as an organization. So I do want to recognize our Board of Governors, our Board of Directors who are in the audience today. So if you could please stand if you're a director of the California Humanities and be recognized. I also want to recognize the California Humanities staff, so if the staff could also stand up. So without them, none of this happens, right? They're instrumental in putting all this together. And I want to acknowledge Nancy's husband, Jon Hatamiya. Jon, could you stand? We know there's a lot of Hatamiya family and supporters in the audience today, so we really appreciate you being here. So let me introduce Jon Hatamiya. Jon Hatamiya is an accomplished trombonist, composer, and educator. He is recognized as one of the most talented trombonists to come out of the Sacramento area. He has made a name for himself on both the New York and the California music scenes, and he was recognized in 2011 by Jet Magazine as the only trombonist of the Wynton Marsalis' list of Who's Got Next, which highlighted the next generation of emerging jazz artists. As a performer, Jon has established a wide-ranging reputation reflecting his diverse musical interests. In the big band world, Jon is known as a lead trombone specialist with a soulful and fiery resonance. And in the jazz world, he is also highly regarded as an imaginative and receptive improviser and a proponent of the trombone as a modern, creative voice. Jon received his Bachelor of Music degree in jazz trombone performance from Manhattan School of Music, where he was given the John Clark Award for Excellence in Brass Performance. And he earned a second Master's of Music in Jazz Studies from the University of Southern California. So we are really fortunate to have Jon play for us this evening. But one point of significance of Jon playing here tonight is a historical connection and the influence of jazz in Little Tokyo. So in true humanities fashion, we have invited historian and filmmaker Robert Shoji to talk a little bit about and to give some context about that historical significance. Robert's film, The Finale Club, goes deep into the history of jazz in Little Tokyo and how Little Tokyo was known as Bronzeville during World War II when Japanese Americans were forcibly removed from this area. I would encourage you to see Robert's documentary, The Finale Club. And if you go out to the lobby, there is a poster with a QR code. And if you scan that, it will take you to the location where you can watch his film. So after parlaying his engineering degree from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo into a successful career in consumer electronics, Robert is now focusing his creative talents to tell his own story in film and music. But it's historians, community historians like Robert, who rescue stories that have not been part of American mainstream history. And so we are grateful for humanities experts like Robert to surface these unknown or little-known stories. So please welcome to the stage, Robert Shoji.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Rick. Yeah, so the Blue Whale. Yeah, so many of you may remember this jazz club in Little Tokyo called the Blue Whale that was around from 2009 to 2020. But many of you may not know the deep hidden history of jazz clubs in Little Tokyo, dating back all the way back to the 1940s. And I know John played quite a few times at the Blue Whale. Is that correct, John?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, in the 1940s, this is a story you probably already know, but I'll go through it pretty quickly. So in the 1940s, Little Tokyo became a ghost town where Japanese and Japanese Americans were unjustly sent to concentration camps. So during the same time, thousands of African Americans were moving into the Los Angeles area from the Deep South for defense jobs. But unfortunately, because of housing restrictions, they had trouble finding places to live. So one of the few areas that the African Americans could move into was Little Tokyo. And so for about a 3 to 4 year period during the 1940s, Little Tokyo was renamed Bronzeville, as Rick mentioned. And Little Tokyo businesses were renamed and run by African Americans. So during that time, several music clubs, also known as breakfast clubs, opened up in the area during that time. So in 1946, the Finale Club was one of the more well-known jazz clubs in Bronzeville, mainly because two jazz greats played here together, a relatively unknown 19-year-old Miles Davis, and he was just a kid, and a 25-year-old Charlie Parker, soon to be 26. The Finale Club was located at 230.5 East 1st Street. It's literally just a couple of blocks from here, walking distance from here. So if you guys are familiar with the area, the building is now a location for a new sales office for a new condominium development. And prior to that, those of you who lived in the Little Tokyo area, it was previously the S.K. Uyeda store for many years, which was a general goods store specializing in Asian goods. And I'll mention that there was a live recording that was done when this lineup played at the Finale Club. And if you track me down after this presentation, after the band performs, I can give you more details on that recording, but it was kind of a bootleg recording that was done. So in the 1940s, both Miles Davis and Charlie Parker were primarily known as New York jazz musicians. So how they both happened to end up in Little Tokyo, Bronzeville at the same time in 1946, well, I'll say that's a story for another day. And so according to a book about Charlie Parker written by Ross Russell, many of you may have read that book, he said in the book that, quote, sessions at the Finale were probably the finest in the country in 1946, unquote. And Charlie Parker's presence at the Finale Club really acted as a magnet for resident and visiting jazz musicians, which led to the Finale Club, and this in some ways is hard to believe, becoming a mecca for jazz musicians and fans. And that's considering all the great jazz clubs in New York, Chicago, and LA, that this kind of statement was made about the Finale Club right here in our neighborhood. So if you stop by 230.5 East 1st Street, you'll see this permanent sign which commemorates the Finale Club location. And this sign was put up by the Little Tokyo Historical Society, and I know some members are here. So we worked with the City of Los Angeles to get this sign put up. So with that, I'm thrilled that this Little Tokyo live jazz legacy lives on with the performance tonight by the Jon Hatamiya Sextet. So I guess now, please welcome the Jon Hatamiya Sextet.
to kind of set the context for all this, so I'm not going to talk too much, but most of what you're going to hear tonight is music off of my album that we put out on Orenda Records a couple years ago called More Than Anything. And the context is sort of twofold, in which most of this music we kind of labbed out, and it was developed over time at a number of performances at the Blue Whale here in Little Tokyo over the years. And the other side of this, which I think also sort of relates to California humanities, is that most of this music was written after the passing of my mom, Nancy Hatamiya, and it's sort of my response to a lot of, I don't know, everything that happens in life kind of when dealing with the loss of someone like that. So, yeah, we're, not to say that all this music is gonna be that dark and brooding, but just trying to bring it all together a little bit. We're gonna just keep playing some music. That first one that you heard, the first track off the record, it was called What Means This? And this next one is called Why? And, yeah. Before we play, I'll go into more detail as we go on about each of these people in the band, but I just want to introduce them to you real quick. This is Ennis Harris. On the guitar, it's Gabe Schnider. Jacob Mann on the keys. Logan Kane on the bass. And Colin McDaniel on the drums. And as the evening goes on, I'll talk a little bit more about each of them, because I have a lot of history in different ways with all the people here on stage with me, and it's really a lot of fun to get to play this music with them. So we'll keep going. Here's the next tune. Thank you. That last one was not one of mine. That was an arrangement of mine of the tune by the great Wayne Shorter called Footprints. Yeah. Yeah, we were unfortunate enough to lose Wayne this year, but he leaves behind an incredible legacy of music of kind of all sorts, just spanning all genres, and definitely one of my heroes, and I'm sure I speak for all of us here in the band at least. And this next one that we're gonna do is also not on the album, but it's probably the newest original that I've written, at least for this set. And originally was part of a 4-movement suite that I was commissioned to write by LA Jazz Society at the Angel City Jazz Festival a couple years ago. And that one was for a full big band, but I really like this tune, and it works well in this format, and I think it's pretty relevant to the setting that we're in here today. I mean, the suite that I originally wrote was a reflection on kind of the lost year that we had during COVID shutdowns, where everyone was just stuck at home, and it kind of seemed like the world was just sort of standing still in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways it wasn't. And this first movement is called But Where Are You Really From? And it kind of speaks to at least my personal experience as a Asian American and Japanese American jazz musician, and just getting that question a lot over the years. Being of Japanese descent, but being from America and being 4th generation personally, and just sort of also dealing with kind of like my whole thoughts about violence and hatred towards people of Asian descent or Asian ethnicity during those kind of first months of the shutdown. So this is my reflection on all of that. And we're probably gonna go right into the next one from that, which is the 3rd movement of another multi-movement work I wrote called The Dreamscapes, which are all on the album, all in a row, but we're only gonna play the 3rd one tonight, because we don't have enough time. And over the course of these 2 pieces, we're gonna feature pretty much almost everyone in the band. But yeah, hope you enjoy. And again, thank you so much for being here. I promised that I would talk a little bit more about the people in this band, and I think you should know a little bit more about all of them. And they're all very special people to me, so I want to talk about them too. everyone in this band kind of comes into my life at different points, and yeah, it's kind of a fun, kind of like timeline of my life in music, even just within this band. The first person that I ever met here in this group, we grew up together in Davis, California, and this guy somehow will go months without playing, and he's working on a PhD in psychology-related field, and has been my favorite drummer ever since we were kids, and I cannot do anything without him. Give it up for Colin McDaniel. And I've lived in a lot of different places, was in New York for a while. I've been basically a resident of LA since 2014, and I left for a few years when COVID hit, moved back up to the Sacramento area, but no matter what I do, I can't hear anyone else except Colin playing my music, so it's all written with his sound in mind. The next person I actually met when I was in New York, before New York, we were in high school, I guess. And I haven't seen this guy. We lived together when we were in college for a year. And he was in the first band that I ever put together when I lived out in New York. We were a bunch of kids playing music. We thought we were really cool. And now we know we're cool. I'm a goof. This guy, yeah, we go back a long ways, but I haven't seen him probably in, it's gotta be close to 8 or 9 years. And he was living in New York for that whole time, for the most part, and is pretty much almost, we could call a new resident of LA, spending a lot of time here. Give it up for Gabe Schnider. When I first moved to LA, the reason was to attend graduate school at USC, and I met a couple people while I was there. I got to town, didn't really know anyone except a few people who were from LA, who I already kind of knew, and get to school and meet some of the other grad students. There's a lot of really good musicians, and everyone is cool. And then I hear some people playing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, who are those people? And it's like a bunch of freshmen. And one of those freshmen was this guy on the bass, and we've played together so much over the last 9 years since I first moved to LA. I think probably of any musician that I've played with, he's probably the one person I play with the most. Whether it's on my projects, or it's on his projects, or it's on someone else's projects, we just play together all the time. And I mean, you can hear he's like a singular voice on the bass. I don't even have him playing electric, but I think a lot of people know him as an electric player now. But I mean, I heard him first as an upright player. I've got the sound of his upright playing in my head. I mean, he's my favorite bass player, definitely on the planet. This is Logan Kane. And I have another person I met when I first moved to LA was this dude, and it was because someone who I was supposed to have on my first graduate recital at USC bailed very last minute. And I was like, I don't know any other piano players in town, because they had us do a recital right when we got there. And I was like, I don't know anyone. And everyone was telling me, call Jacob Mann. He's like amazing, he's so cool. And I called him, he just came and showed up and played on my recital. We never played together before. And now we play together a lot. I mean, he's got amazing projects, his own big band. We play together a lot in Lewis Cole's band, and yeah, he also ended up being a very last minute sub on the album when I think the same person not being able to show up very last minute. We had been, again, like I mentioned before, labbing this music for probably close to a year, maybe more than a year at that point. Actually, yeah, close to 2 years. We're kind of like the same set group, and it just so happened that on the date of the recording, like 2 weeks before, something came up. At least this time I knew about Jacob, by that point we were friends. But we didn't rehearse for the session at all because everyone had been playing the music. A bunch of people were coming in from out of town. So I just sent it to him and I was like, let's do it. He showed up and what you hear on the album is him basically sight reading everything. I mean, like he didn't, he's like amazing musician in his own right. People know him from 1 minute jazz lessons, I guess. But none of that tonight. This is Jacob Mann. Do go check out 1 minute jazz lessons if you like jazz or you're a jazz musician. It pokes a lot of hilarious humor at jazz education, which I love. Speaking of jazz education, this guy playing the alto is actually my TA right now at B.A.C. But also has very quickly, we only met a couple years ago, but very quickly become one of my favorite musical voices in LA, especially as a composer. If you want to hear some of his original music, he actually is playing the commission that I had a couple years ago. Jacob had it a few years ago actually too, at Angel City Jazz Fest. Ennis Harris, he's got his project on October 27th at Angel City Jazz Festival. He's one of the best composers, most unique voices, orchestrationally and on alto as you're hearing tonight. Give it for Ennis Harris. All right, that's enough talking. We're gonna play some more music. This next one is a tune of mine called As Friends. again so much for being here tonight. I can't express enough how special this is to me to be able to do this. It was kind of mentioned before, but I play a lot at the Blue Whale, and I have a lot of history just playing jazz in this neighborhood. I think Robert asked me before when we got here, like how often I played there, and I pretty commonly say it's probably like 95% of my work as a performer when I was living in LA was there when it was happening, like when it was open. So it's really special to come back here, not only to this neighborhood, but also to this museum, and be able to put on a show here. This has been really awesome. Thank you to everyone here at JNM for hosting this. Thank you to California Humanities for helping set this up. It's really, really, really awesome experience to get to play here. Sounds good in here too. Yeah. How about a hand for both California Humanities and you got a little bit of historical context about how, there's a lot of history of creative and improvised music happening in this area. And after the Whale closed, I think it felt like there was a huge hole in the scene of creative music here. But hopefully we can just keep it going somehow, I mean, there's still a lot of great music happening around LA, but I would love to be able to keep having music in this area in particular. But at least for tonight, it's been a lot of fun. We got one more tune, and then we're gonna call it. It's been a long day. I've got CDs out there if anyone is interested. You can also find my music online. Look up anyone in this band and you'll find some incredible music. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun to get to play this stuff. I used to go really hard with trying to book gigs for my own music, and I just haven't been on it as much. So it's been probably a year and a half since we played a lot of this music in LA, at least. So this has been a lot of fun. This last tune we're gonna play is an old classic, at least in my book. It's actually the first tune I ever wrote, basically, and we still play it. So hope you enjoy it. It's called How Things Change. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you so much to everyone for being here tonight. Thank you to all of the musicians, to all of you here in the audience. Thank you to our partners here at California Humanities. And we hope that you enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you so much.